All right, so here we are. Now, we got a bunch of holsters on the table, and these are all meant for you to be able to take a look at perks, pros, cons, stuff like that, for all these, for the new gun owner to be able to look at these. We'll describe them out real quick so that you guys can make an informed decision for yourself. Okay, so first thing I want to start off with is there's a lot of different stuff out there. There's Cadex, leather, synthetics, all these different ways to hide a gun, concealed carry, things like that. But one of the things I want to start off with first is my Glock 43. This Glock 43 is probably the gun that I carry the most. And as you can see, these are all my holsters. These are all different holsters that I've used for different purposes. And a lot of times when you're in your holster selection, you have to think about the purpose of what you're going to be using the holster for. If it's going to be for concealment, then it's a concealment holster. If it's going to be for training or something where you don't mind wearing outside the waistband, that you want a very quick, very seamless, very clean draw on, then you're going to want to go with something that's going to be outside the waistband, like one of these where it's just a belt slide in. You have them where they can attach either to clothing specifically with a metal clip. This is a hog holster. This can attach to any piece of clothing with a metal clip. You have others that they're made of two different materials so that they can fit in, and they just clip and go inside the belt, and they clip onto your belt. You have others that are pancake style that's just meant to be taken on and off very easily. So just in going through a couple of these here with the 9mm. Okay, starting off with pocket holsters. Okay, this is a sticky holster. This is meant to be put inside your pocket, like if you have a large cargo pocket or something like that. But one of the pros and cons about this is this really super sticky material that's on the outside. You can stick this in your belt. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to shove this into my belt here. This holds this snug. What this is relying on is friction fit. Okay, so it will be very easy for me to take out, but it will most likely stay in position when I'm carrying. I don't typically carry appendix, but I'm just doing this mainly for this video here, so that way I don't have to keep spinning around on the camera. But this is a possibility that this could still come loose. If there's going to be a rigorous activity, or if you expect to get into a lot of physical activity, if you know you're going to have to wrestle somebody or take down a suspect or something like that. This may not be one of the holsters that you want, but it works very well as a concealment holster. Another good holster that I like to carry is the Q series by my friend Gary Quisenberry. This is an absolute minimalist holster, and this is just meant to cover everything that you need to cover on the gun and still keep the gun safely secured to your body. So this just clips in here onto the trigger guard. And what it's meant to do is it's meant to cover the trigger guard so there can't be any accidental discharges with the firearm of like material or buttons or little bungee cords or anything that you got in your pocket, a pin, whatever, coming up and hitting the trigger while the gun is holstered in there. So it just fits right over. It friction fits as well, and of course this will fit just right into your belt line as well. These holsters that are made this way, when you draw, gives you a very quick, clean draw because of the Kydex, but then as you draw, you come out. When you want to go back to the holster, a lot of times we recommend that you just go ahead and pop the clip off. You just pop it right off, and then you put the holster back on, and then you go ahead and reinsert the holster into your pants, right? So this is a very ultralight, minimalistic type holster, okay? So you can get something like this, and this is gonna give you the lightest, lightweight package, most compact, most easily concealed. Okay, moving on to other holsters. We have outside the waistband that feeds through the belt buckles. Goes in here. This provides you, again, this is a friction fit as well. It doesn't have any locking devices or anything like that. This offers you another small footprint and still holds the gun in tight to the body, but it gives you hard protection against the gun, whereas some of these don't necessarily do that. So this will give you some nice, good protection on it. Another that we talked about earlier, this is the hog holster. Part of the reason I like this holster as well is because it comes with the metal clip. The Q series comes with a metal clip as well. Most holsters nowadays come with plastic clips, and the odds of breaking a plastic clip are much less nowadays because the polymers are stronger, they're more flexible. It'd be a lot harder to break a plastic clip now than it would be ever before. But one of the things I like about this is it has the utility clip on here. This actually clamps down on whatever fabric you're using, so you don't have to have a belt. You could have some, shorts or whatever, during the summer, you're running shorts, you got basketball shorts or something like that, has a drawstring or something in it where you could tighten it up enough. This is something you could put in there, or you can actually clip it to other things. It doesn't even really have to be, it could be inside, in a jacket, and then it just clips to the part of the pocket of the jacket. So you can really affix this to a lot of different places because of the clip and the clamping force that it has on it. So this is a good versatile holster as well. The only thing is that be careful taking these out. Another in the pants holster is available. This one was given to us for testing last year, NRA, great holster. This is what's great about this LAG holster is the fact that when you put it into your pants, it stays open. So as you draw your firearm, you engage, do whatever. If you don't have to engage anything, and you want to go back to the holster, when you go back to the holster, it stays open. So it's very easy to go back to your holster to reholster your gun. That may be something that you want to take into consideration if you are going to be taking your gun out and putting it into a lockbox on a regular basis. If you are using this and you want to make sure when you get to your office and you want to take the gun out and put it in your desk, or when you get home you want to take the gun out and put it into your lockbox by your bed or your safe or whatever. If you're drawing and putting the gun back and forth, holsters like this make this easy to go back and forth between pieces. Okay, so then you have those. The advantage of these holsters, where they stay open like this, over other leather holsters, if they don't have some type of reinforcement in here, is that they can collapse. Now, this is I don't happen to have one because I don't like to carry them, but an in the pants leather holster that doesn't have any type of steel reinforcement or anything in there. So if this was an in the pants holster and it didn't have the reinforcement, when I drew my firearm, I can't go back to it. It's very difficult to go back to the holster, and I run the risk of something like this coming up and a flap or something getting caught in the trigger well and then having an accidental discharge. Okay, so this is an outside the pants holster. I'm just using this as if it was an inside the pants. On the outside, you have your leather holsters as well. You don't necessarily have to worry about these getting compressed as much, but it is one of the things that you have to think about if you're running an outside leather holster that doesn't have the reinforcement to keep it open, in the fact that when you go back for your draw, you need to make sure that you are paying attention to the gun as you go back to the holster, because these collapse and these little pieces can get folded over underneath. I've seen on the range where these little pieces get folded underneath and these things get caught in here. So yeah, that's one of the considerations that you have to think about there. Another outside the waistband holster that is good for training, when you know you're going to be doing a lot of drawing, sending a lot of rounds down range, is just a good old-fashioned pancake with a finger lock on it. Now, I haven't used this one in a while. A lot of people are starting to get away from where you have to engage safeties with your finger, because there have been claims of people having accidental discharges by engaging this and then coming up and hitting the trigger as they disengage. So in addressing that, some of the holster manufacturers are now going to alternative locking methods like this right here. This is a Safari Land for the 5.7. It has essentially moved the locking mechanism from the front here to the back, so that as you come in and grip, when you get a proper grip, your finger hits that actuator right here, and it unlocks the gun to bring it out instead of you having to engage something with your finger. Okay, so all of these that we're talking about here, this is just for one gun. This one gun that I bought, and I've bought almost all of these, and they've cost me a lot of money, and that's part of what this video is here, is just to prevent you from making the same mistakes. I don't know anybody that's been carrying a gun for a long time, whether you're law enforcement or military or whatever, that doesn't have a box full of holsters. One other one that I want to carry real quick, that I want to bring up real quick is, this is Crossbreed. I've been a big fan of Crossbreed since they first started. I carried Crossbreed holsters when I was on duty as an air marshal, because one of the things I liked about it is you could tuck in. It was one of the first few holsters that you could actually tuck your shirt in. So you could put this on your hip, and then you could tuck your shirt in behind the metal clips. This is a standard thing now, but back when they first came out with it, they were really the first ones to come out with this design. This one here has the molded out for my TRL-6 light. This light usually lives on here just like this, just like we're talking about defensive guns having lights. So this is a laser light combo. Took it off for a different video and a different thing that we were doing, but this light usually lives on here and then it fits inside of there. So when you're buying your kit with your lights and your holsters and all this stuff, you have to make sure that all this stuff jives. And a lot of times you want to make sure that you do this in one shot. You know, if this is the setup you want to carry and this is the light you want, you want to do your research and make sure it's all compatible. You don't want to buy this holster and then go, oh, I want to put a light on, then buy the light and spend the extra money on the light, and then have to spend the extra money on the additional holster to house it. So, like I said, these are all the different things just for this one gun. Okay, moving into some of the other things that we have here on the table is more for deep concealment. Okay, a lot of these are tuckable, so I have about, this is tuckable, this is tuckable, this is tuckable. And tuckable, by tuckable we mean you put this in here and you can tuck your shirt in, same about here. You can put this in here and you can tuck your shirt in behind the holster, just like this, and then the only thing that you see is this clip. I'm gonna take a step back here just so we can, all right, I'm sorry. So then all you see is this clip. So this is much less obvious. It's not true concealment. You're hiding the gun, but you still see a clip. So somebody that knows what they're looking for, like your law enforcement and other people like that, when they're checking people and they're always watching hands and they're watching belt lines and things like that, and when they're looking for weapons, this is an obvious indicator, but that's okay. Most of us were just wanting to carry concealed just for our own protection, and so most people aren't going around paying attention to stuff like that. But you have all of your tuckable holsters, but then you have other things that are more deep concealment. Okay, when you get into something where you want to conceal your gun and you want to keep it on your person for a long period of time, there's a lot of different things that you can do. And as an air marshal, we went through years of just trying to figure out how to hide big full-size guns and extra magazines and batons and have all this stuff on your body, but still be able to take your jacket off and look like a normal person. Because nobody wants to walk around with a big jacket on and not look and fit the part of a normal person, where everyone else goes into a building, they take their coats off. If you have all this gear on, now you have to remain concealed, you have to keep your jacket on, makes you stand out. Okay, so part of this some of the other options you can do are belly bands. Okay, so belly bands are really just a big piece of stretchy material. It wraps around your body, and you adjust it to where you want it, and then your pistol just fits down into wherever the slot is here. So this will slide on, and then part of the thing you can do here with these is they have adjustable straps, and then you can put this and adjust this anywhere on your body that you want. So as I want to move this, if I want it to sit more in the back here so that I present more of a silhouette. So if I wear my shirt and I wear this gun right here, most likely you're going to see where this pokes out. So you have to find your spot on your body where I can conceal this, but I can still reach it. Okay, so a lot of mine likes to fit here, because a lot of times you take your jacket off in a concealment mode, you can present that clean belt line. People aren't typically thinking that you have a firearm on you. Okay, so when you get into these types of rigs, concealment rigs like this, what the problems that you run into is, one, retention. Okay, so this is very flexible. material. This can stretch very easily. It's meant to stretch. It's what's designed for. You have your strap that can go over the top, but most times they're Velcro or just button. So there is a chance that this could move around and could come loose inside your shirt if you get into a lot of physical activity. With these, I strongly suggest that if you're going to use something like this, that you practice with it. You go to a range, you put it on, you tuck your shirt in, and then you pull your shirt all the way up and you go for your draw, and you practice that a couple times. These are very difficult to get back into the holster, especially under stress. So if you draw your firearm in a stressful situation, in a defensive situation, when you go back to the holster, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for because you're going to be in that gross motor skills mindset where your stress is, you have that stress induced and all that stuff. It's going to be a little more difficult to get that thing threaded back into that holster because your shirt's going to be in the way. You're going to be trying to hold your shirt out of the way, trying to get this thing back into this little bitty pocket. So these are some of the things that you need to take into account when you do this. Some of the other things that we have here. From Cheetah Tactical, they were on the show a little while back, and they brought us some of their leg rigs. I wore this rig for probably 3 or 4 days, and it was great. This thing stayed in place. I never had any problems with it. The gun fits down in here. You put this on just like a sock. The gun fits down in here a certain way, but then with each one of these rigs, there's also certain ways that you want to make sure you draw the firearm, because this one here has the clip. Most people think you have to undo the clip, and when they were on the show, they showed us, no, you don't really. You just pull this back, you just pull this up, and it snaps right up over the gun and draws. So you want to go ahead and get online and check out these manufacturers of these different holsters. So you want to get online, you want to check out their demos. You can come to our website if we have them. Check out their demos, see how they use it, how it's employed, how it's designed to be used, and how it's designed to be employed. So, but this, you have ankle holsters. So there are a lot of different things. You have shoulder holsters, stuff like that. So when you're going through there, you have a lot of different options. Getting back to some of the bigger holsters. You have these would come into play if you're going to be in a high activity or prolonged use or something like that. So what these holsters are designed for is 1, multiple retention, 2, protection of the firearm. So this hard plastic going all the way around here is going to protect the gun as best possible. This one here specifically has a low cut on it because this firearm is I'm probably going to end up putting an optic on it at a later date, but it has the lower cut in here. But these have multiple retention systems, so these are designed for you to retain the weapon. When it talks about multiple retention, that's designed to keep the gun on your body. Because if I get into a shoving match with someone in some situation and I'm carrying this holster, there is nothing to prevent that person from reaching over and grabbing that gun and actually pulling it out of my holster and using it on myself. So these, when you grab them, they lock into place, and you have to actually actuate these buttons, and then it has to be pulled up in a specific way. So even if they hit this, it's still not going to slide right out because it still has a lock. It has to be pulled, it has to be drawn directly up. Okay, so there's a lot of different things on here that are meant to protect the gun. These are meant for, like I said, high rigorous activity. So this is my competition rig that we've for like our running guns and stuff like that. And the reason I'm bringing this one up here is just to show with the full size. So this is another Safariland holster, and this one is meant to house a Glock 34 with a light. So this protects this gun. As you can see, this gun has been hit and banged on a lot of things. So we went through and we just did our most recent running gun, and we had to go through a lot of very small portals and tires and tunnels and things like that, and had to crawl through a lot of stuff. So this protected my gun against all the rocks and the beating and the banging. And you can see I haven't cleaned this since the last race, but you can see the abuse that this holster took. Well, pull the gun out and the gun is perfectly fine. Okay, so this is what it's designed for. This one here also has the triple retention. Or this one, I took the hood off. Some of them have a hood that slides down, and that's an additional form of retention. Then it has this little locking lever here. You hit this with your thumb as you come up, so it makes for a very quick draw. But Again, looking at all the different holster options, this is something that if you're going to be a rigorous activity and you want to protect the firearm, okay? If you know you're going to be climbing, jumping, doing a bunch of different stuff, and you want to protect the gun, because the bottom line is, gun is your lifeline, all right? So if, you know, no matter what you get into, of course, we're always gonna use our verbal skills and our de-escalation and stuff like that, but this is what's gonna get you out of the jam when all else fails, okay? So you wanna protect it as best you can. All right, so just wanted to bring that up just to show just the abuse that these things can take. And I've been using this holster in these competitions for quite a while now. So getting into the revolvers, you got the revolvers here. So this is actually meant for my Colt Python, but still it's a revolver holster. It's a leather holster. This is a custom holster that a friend of mine made, Don Newton from Havoc Holsters, and he made me a matching set for my knife. I've had this knife since I joined the military, so this is pretty much my first combat knife, and I still have it. So he made me like a little thing to match it, so it was really nice. But some of the stuff we want to look at as far as our firearms, this, of course, this will go under even though it's a snub nose. This, of course, this is meant for a gun with a much longer barrel. So you can still put these on here. This one normally has a retention strap that goes over it. I took it off just because of something else we were doing at a different time. When you store your firearms, some of the things that you want to think about is a lot of people will throw this gun in this holster and they'll put it in the safe and they'll leave it there. These holsters, when it comes to leather holsters, retain water. You know, they change with the humidity and they change with the environment. So if you don't have a dehumidifier in your safe or in your lockbox, then these leather holsters will retain water, and what will happen is they will start to rust in the points of contact where the holster is setting against the firearm itself. This has a little bit of reinforcement with the additional leather on it, so it makes it easier for me to go, easy to go back to the holster. And this is actually set up to be more like a drop leg platform. But again, we're getting into custom holster status here. So we've covered a lot of stuff on the holsters. Now I'm going to get into magazine pouches.